In this task, we're going to look at sprites. Now, sprites are objects. The first thing that we've done here is to import a few more libraries. I've imported the Pygame one at the beginning, and now I've imported random and maths. The random gives us the opportunity to create a random number, as we'll see in a moment, and the maths will actually give you some quite interesting maths functions for later on when you're perhaps considering a more advanced game. I've saved this as a sprite template because I tend to use it on a regular basis, just as the sort of starting point for any new project. The usual stuff is here, and I've put in the Pygame display set to snow, and I've set my screen size and so forth. Now, here's the first important aspect of this. I've created what's called a class snow. Now, this is a snowflake, and it imports this idea of a Pygame sprite. And so it brings in a sprite, and the first method is this constructor, which is the initialization constructor. And the important thing about this is that I define a color, a width, and a height, which are parameters for this class. So when I eventually produce an object of this class, I'm going to give it color, width, and height. So here I call the Sprite Initialization constructor from its parent class, which is in the object. And then also I define a sprite, which is a surface, a rectangle effectively, that has height and width. It's filled with color, and then this sets the rectangle. So a sprite is really just a rectangle on the screen of a specific height and color. Now, later on, you'll be able to see that you can put images over the top of the rectangle to make it look like there are different types of objects. But all sprites are essentially, most sprites are just a rectangle. And here I've got some attributes, rect.x and rect.y. They are the attributes of our snow, and they say where the snow is. So, for example, I've selected a range of numbers between 0 and 16, and 0 and 600, and 0 and 400 for the y coordinate. So it will create a random position for one flake of snow when I initialize it. Further down, another key ingredient for Pygame is this idea of lists. Now, this is a snow list. So every time I create a new one of these snowflakes, I will populate this list. So, and it's called a group. Okay, so Pygame sprite group, yeah, is actually, this is a snow list, and then I've got a list of all the sprites. I want to know all the sprites, including like enemies and bullets and mountains and all sorts of things that you might want. They get put into the all sprite list. So here's how to create our snowflakes. I set the number of flakes that I want to 50, and then I say for x in range 50, my snow, which is a variable, equals snow, then the color white, and 5 and 5. So this snow here references back to this class. So my snow is of the class white, and it's have height and width 5. And then I do snowList.add. So I'm going to add to this list this new element, my snow, and I'm also going to add it to the list of all sprites. Now, as I go down into the loop, here's a really important aspect, which is that I've got all sprites list .draw on the screen. So every time I go through my loop, I will redraw the flakes on the screen, all of those that are in the all sprite list. So this one statement here handles all 50 elements that are already added to my snow, the all sprites list. So the drawing becomes quite easy. You can see now I've created 50 elements, and I draw them all using just the one command. So I'm going to do run module, and then you will see there it is. So I've now got my 50 snowflakes dotted randomly around the screen. So I've used the class, and I've just invoked it 50 times and added each new element to a list of sprites.